Welcome on YouTube and Grimdawn community to another of my quick leveling slash speed leveling guides. In this video I'm gonna just talk about general items that you can use for leveling. So I want to highlight especially the slots that are not occupied by the local set. Local set, as you know, has 4 pieces, meaning chest, helmet, shoulder and boots. So first of all, we're going to check out the slots that are not occupied by the local set. So first of all, let's start out with the most important slot for your build when it comes to damage, which is going to be your weapon slash shield slash offhand. So for the weapon, you just want to use a weapon that supports your basically main damage ability. That will heavily depend on like which class you're playing, which skill you're playing. Say you're like playing Force Wave Soldier Knight, for example, then you want to obviously look for the Obsidian War Cleaver. If you want to play a Word of Pain caster and like level with Word of Pain, you might want to, for example, use Bargirl's Heart, and so on and so on. To properly like know which of these weapons or like items in general give you skill modifiers towards your main damage ability, you can always check out the item skill modifiers over here in the database. Click on this, choose the skill that you want to play, such as for example Dreek's Evil Eye, and then you just need to activate the green ones, the rares here, because these are gonna be the ones that are like easy to get while leveling and also like easy to get in endgame. So these will always be like a starting point for your character. So you can see, for example, Dreek's Evil Eye gets supported by Crimson's Fire Scepter, which you can drop from level 20 on. So then you like check out the boss here, you click on this boss, you can see what the boss does, what kind of abilities the boss deals. You can check out her loot. So for example, you can see that Crimson's Fire Scepter will have a 27% chance to drop at level 94. If you like put this down to, I don't know, level 24 for example, it will have a 27% chance to drop to level 20 Crimson Fire Scepter. And also if you check out spawn locations, you can see that this one only has one single spawn location, so it's like very easy to like find her, and it's gonna be in the Tomb of Seethan. If you don't know where that is, you can click on show on the map, and it will open up a new tab with the Grimdawn map and like highlight you the location of that mob within the dungeon that it spawns in. You can then also like zoom out here to like the world map, right, to like see where the Tomb of Seethan is, and you will have like the closest rift gate highlighted, so you can just like port here and then like farm her and the Tomb of Seethan, for example. So yeah, the weapon heavily depends on what you're playing, but there should always be at least one like monster frequent that you can like aim for while leveling, and that monster frequent is gonna give you a lot of damage because skill modifiers, generally speaking, are very strong and are basically equivalent to like multiple points into that skill. On top of that, a item with a skill modifier usually also has skill bonuses, like this one for example gives you not only 60% more weapon damage to Force Wave, but also plus 4 skills to Force Wave, as well as to Internal Trauma, which is like the 3rd node of Force Wave. Moving over to accessories, you have the guaranteed Slith Primer Ring that you can get from Torvin near the White Mire Rift, right? You have the quest to like give him 3 Slith necklaces, and then he's gonna give you a Slith Primer Ring, which is gonna be a level 8 item with these stats on normal, a level 45 item with these stats on elite, and a level 70 item with these stats on ultimate. Apart from that, you can obviously get the Leovinus' ring, which I highlighted in my first part of how to speed level characters as well, which you can find in the urn cluster near the Temple of Azure Rift. Other accessory pieces I can very much recommend for leveling are, for example, the Royal Exuberance set. This is a 3-piece set consistent of a ring, the jewel, another ring, the seal, and an amulet, the pendant, and these 3 together give you +1 to all skills in the 3-piece set bonus. And also they have like pretty generic like HP, Cunning, Spirit, all damage, OA, some DA, the resistances as like bonuses. So these are like universally usable on pretty much any character while leveling, and I do use them sometimes. However, I usually prefer to use the Everest of Andreonius at level 50 plus, which has basically every single resistance type that you need in the entire game. So yeah, if you're like lacking resistances, you can just like equip this amulet and you should be good with like all the resistances that you will ever need. Another very sick leveling set is the Adornments of Valiant set. This one requires level 65 and is a 4-piece set, which also gives you like +1 to all skills at a 4-piece set, which consists of a amulet, a medal, and 2 rings. And the crazy thing about this one is like it makes it ridiculously tanky. Like it has insane HP and armor, and like each single piece has like another % armor bonus. And on top of that, the amulet also has a proc, or like a healing, like health regen proc that also has like another 30% increased armor for like 8 seconds. So I really like this for leveling as well. I would not say it's as easy to get as like the Everest of Andreonius or like the Royal Exuberance set, and it's also way more important on like characters that have high armor already, like a soldier or like a shaman or a nightblade are gonna like make way better use of this than say a squishy caster, because basically the more armor you already have, the more useful percent armor will be, and also like the more armor you have in general, the more physical damage it can absorb. If you don't have any armor on your character, this might not even be that great, and you rather want to get some like flat absorption or physical resistance instead. Other than that, for a amulet slot, you can always use a green amulet, such as for example Mogara's Fangs, which say have +1 to the mastery that is basically your main mastery. In this case, for example, if you're like playing Force Wave Soldier, you might want to get Mogara's Fangs like +1 all skills to Soldier, or you might want to get a amulet or medal that has a skill modifier towards your damage type again. So in this case, for example, Chandler's Heart for Force Wave on the amulet, or for example Gazelas's Mark as your medal if you are playing a Cold or Pierce Nightblade or Demolitionist. Now moving on to pants, we have the Mistwalker leggings for level 20 with Maven Spear of Protection bonuses and Ascension bonuses if you're playing those masteries, but also it has like Aether Rest and Elemental Rest, which is like very useful this early on, like in Act 1 and 2. And from level 40 on, I usually always complement my Locust set with a Leg Plates of Valor, because like Leg Plates of Valor does fix the like missing Pierce and Bleed resistances that Locust set does not provide me. And also like some Fizziness, DA and HP is pretty nice, which I will usually switch out towards the Empowered Leg Plates of Valor at level 75, which are basically like the same pair of pants with like better stats. Alternatively, you could always like try farming for a Dreek sect, a Solile sect, or a Bismuth sect Legards from the 3 hidden path bosses that you can farm in normal, elite and ultimate from level 30 on. These usually have like some pretty nice defenses and can like roll affixes on top, so you should like be able to get a really nice pair of these. Now for the belts, a belt that I really like early on pretty much any character, as well as the Alchemist's belt. This one has some pretty nice poison rust and also already a circuit breaker that like activates at 20% of your HP and gives you like some healing whenever you like drop very low. So this is pretty nice for hardcore, and it's basically the earliest like circuit breaker in the game that you can get at level 29 already. At least the earliest like circuit breaker that is on gear. Other than that, I can very much recommend you to get a belt with +1 all skills to your main mastery, such as for example Legion belt when you're like playing a Nightblade. There are faction belts for pretty much all of these masteries, so you can first of all try to like check out which faction you need to get to like a certain amount of reputation with to buy the blueprint here from, for example, Black Legion, and then you can like craft this Legion belt and get like +1 to Oscars. On top of that, there are also like monster frequent belts, such as for example Gargoyle Waistguard for Nightblades, which are again monster frequents that drop from specific enemies, but these are a little bit harder to get, at least compared to the faction items, but you could still farm these and get some decent affixes on top. Now let's move over to the relic slot. For the relic slot, I usually recommend you to early on use the Bone Talisman, right? This one you can get from the Rover quest in Act 2, and if you like choose to keep the talisman, you will get this relic instead. You can use this on any character starting at level 18. And after that, I would very much recommend you to always use a tier 2 relic that has like +1 to, again, your main mastery. For example, Juggernaut if you're playing a soldier. These usually require either level 35 or 50. However, they also require you to find this blueprint, which is generally speaking a random blueprint. However, you can also vendor farm them in the Secret District from Hiram. He basically has a chance to like sell you every single tier 1 and tier 2 relic, except for the Mistborn Talisman and some others that you can get from faction vendors. But he won't have them all for sale at the same time, so you might have to reset this vendor a couple of times until you get all the tier 1 and 2 relics that you want. If you want to know which of these relics are faction blueprint relics, such as Vendetta for example, just like write the name of the relic here, and then you can see, for example, this one will be sold by the faction vendor of Mammoth Resistance, whereas Juggernaut for example is going to be a random one, which means it can be sold by Hiram actually. Grim Tools will not show that these random relic blueprints can be like sold by Hiram as well. This however only works for tier 1 and 2 relics and won't work for legendary tier 3 relics. Some of these tier 2 relics are still very good for certain archetypes, such as for example the Death Chill relic for dual wield Cold and Vitality Nightblades. As you can see, this gives you like an insane amount of flat damage and attack speed, and also the aura gives you even more flat damage. So I would prefer this relic over, for example, the Slaughter relic on Nightblades if you are playing cold damage or vitality damage. And I would only use Slaughter if you're actually using pierce damage for Nightblades. Moving on, we have the Glove slot. This one is arguably like the most uninteresting one. Use whatever you find, generally speaking, to like fix your resistances. If you are casting or attack speed based, try to get some with like attack speed or casting speed. Otherwise, just get like defenses. And for defenses, I would say like the best glove that you can like use while leveling, which is like not a legendary, is runic bracers. This one is like very good, has like tons of resistances and HP and DA. If you need some like beefy gloves to like give you more HP, more DA, more resistances, just use runic bracers. So yeah, that's pretty much all you need for speed leveling. I did not want to highlight legendary items here because they are random and they're like not as common as say blues or like non-target farmable like the greens. However, if you have some legendary pieces that like fit your build well while leveling, feel free to use that of course. Now, what if you don't have local set and you just want to do normal leveling, or you don't like to wear local set all the way to level 94? What can you use instead of the local set? Well, early on you could for example use the Explorer set. The Explorer set is a 4-piece set similar to local set but like weaker, and it is pretty nice as well. Like it will speed you up a lot with all the total speed it has, and has some like useful generic stuff. But this gets very squishy very soon, so you don't want to like use this all too long, maybe like up to level 30ish to 40 maybe, but not much longer. Since Explorers has a pair of pants, we use the Explorers pants here instead of the Dreeksect pants, and also we switched out the local shoulders with Isaac's spoilers, which is a guaranteed drop near the Foggy Bank Rift, or like between the Whitemire and the Foggy Bank Rift gates, over here to the left in Isaac's stash. Now the next interesting and like all-purpose set for leveling after the Explorer set would be the Herald set. The Herald set is a 3-piece set of a chest, helmet and a amulet slot, and the 3-piece also again gives you like +1 to all the skills. So if you don't need an amulet or like a chest or a helmet for your build, you could always like use the Herald set instead, between say around level 35 to 50. After that, you certainly want to use the Praetorian set if you have it. This is a level 50 3-piece blue set, which is just insanely defensive and very good. Like tons of HP, the OA, the A, elemental res, all kinds of resistances actually. Physical resistance 15% phys res, 35 Aether and Chaos on the 3-piece as well. Like this one is insane. And if you have a shield on top, this also gives you like some shield damage blocked and some more shield damage blocked. And some more shield damage blocked. So if you combine this with a shield, it's even better, but even without a shield, it's already like very good. I used this set a lot on my solo self-found playthroughs, especially once I found at least 2 out of the 3 pieces. If you have the full Praetorian set, honestly you can use it a long way, even all the way to level 94 if you really want to push it that high. You could use the level 65 Herald set, however I kinda don't even like it that much anymore. Like it's way worse than the like non-empowered version, because I feel like the amulet slot for example is like way too important at these higher levels. You want some other amulet that has like +1 to all skills to your masteries for example, or like some skill modifier for your man damage ability instead. Also, let's not forget about the feet. If you are not using Explorer set anymore, or you simply just don't have it, you should early on obviously use boots that have movement speed and resistances. And you could also craft some boots if you get these like blueprints for Adept's boots, Squire's boots, Adept's greaves, Squire's greaves. Like these can be pretty decent early on actually if you don't have like other better boots or you didn't find any good boots. And after that you should check out the factions. Like the factions, especially Rovers and Homestead, have some pretty decent boots to choose from. And honestly my favorite faction boots are the ones from the Black Legion. Like these have Phys res, Aether res, Elemental res, HP, movement speed. They are really good and like make your character very beefy, especially the Elite one, which also has stun resistance on top. Once you are in Elite and you have found the Fattened Mask and the Forgotten Gods part of Elite, you should use Fattened Mask once you are level 75, which gives you +1 to all the skills. And again, like health and resistances, this one is by far the best helmet to use in the game at level 75 if you don't have local set. However, apart from Fattened Mask, there isn't really any set like Praetorian set or Herald set anymore that like carries you between level 75 and 94/100. So you should look out for either faction gear, like for example Devil's Chest Guard, or the monster frequents just get like higher level versions of what you had before, like Chamber's Heart. Maybe you get some like good affixes on top of these to like fix your resistances, to basically like carry you all the way to 94/100. Remember that on top of gear, you will get resistances and tankiness via masteries, components, augments, devotions. Choose there what you still need to like round out your build. I'm not gonna cover all of that here in this video, but you might want to check out my separate guides for devotions, skill point allocations, components and crafting over here and here, or in the description of this video below. If you have any other questions about leveling gear that you should use to, for example, complement your local set, feel free to ask anything down below in the comments. I also want to thank all my supporters on Patreon and Twitch. Thank you so much for supporting me, thank you so much for making me able to do these kind of guides, and I hope to see you around on the next video or my next live stream. Take care and see you around.